Biden I think is done. I mean, it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing for the country
very
having him
embarrassing.
as a presidential candidate, let alone the president of the country. It's crazy. And it's just going to get worse and worse. And he should, the worst of his legacy is his ego that prevents him from stepping aside. And that's it. It's his ego.
To be fair, though, to be any president ever,
so
I bet they have a
bad.
massive
so
ego.
You talk to people. I was in Europe. I was in London a few days ago, and people are like, Bill, how can this guy be a president? And it's a bit like, again, I go back to my business analogy. Being a CEO is like a full contact sport. Being president of the United States is like some combination of wrestling, marathon running, being a triathlete. I mean, you got to be a serious physical shape and at the top of your game to represent this country. And he is a far cry from that, and it's just getting worse, and it's embarrassing. And he cannot be. And by the way, every day he waits, he's handing the election to Trump, because it's harder and harder for an alternative candidate to surface. Now, Dean is the only candidate left on the Democratic side that can still win delegates. He's on the ballot in 42 states. And
I think
the
Dean
best
had
way
a
for
decent
Biden to step
showing
aside
in New Hampshire,
is for Dean
I want
to
to
show
say.
well in Michigan.
And so you think there is a path with the delegates and all that kind of stuff?
100%. So if what has to happen is, New Hampshire, he went from 0 to 20% of the vote and 10 weeks with no name recognition. I helped a little bit. Elon helped. We did a spaces for him. We had 350,000 people on the spaces. Some originally 40,000 live or something, and then the rest after. And then he was on the ground in New Hampshire. And New Hampshire is one of the states where you don't need to be registered to a party to vote for that candidate. So it's like jump ball. And he got 20%. And that's with a lot of independents and Democrats voting for Haley. Haley, who I like and who I've supported, does not look like she's going to make it. Trump is really kind of running the table. And so
Without a doubt.
Vote for Haley.
He's steamrolling her.
As an independent in Michigan, maybe throw away your vote. I think it increases the likelihood that Dean can get those independent votes. If he could theoretically, again, he needs money. He could beat Biden in Michigan. Biden's doing very poorly in Michigan. His polls are terrible. The Muslim community is not happy with him. I didn't know that
Michigan had such a high density of a Muslim community.
Withdrawing, then Dean will get funding. If he wins Michigan or shows well in Michigan, and people say he's viable, he's the only choice we have, he'll attract from the center, he'll attract from people, Republicans who won't vote for Trump, of which they're a big percentage, it could be 60% or more, it could be 70% won't vote for Trump, and also from the Democrats. So I think he's a really interesting candidate, but we got to get the word out.
In all reality, I don't know much about Dean. I should probably look more into him. I was more focused on the interesting comments of right now, if you are a Democratic liberal Biden supporter, you should be hoping that he steps down sooner rather than later. He's not going to win this. Now, if you are a Trump Republican conservative voter, you would actually want Biden theoretically to stay in as long as he can now, because it'll stop any other person on the Democratic side from developing the momentum they would need to beat Trump out in an election. So we've gotten ourselves into an interesting situation. Obviously, this is now in February of 24, so we don't have that many months to go, but it's going to get a little bit tense.